Good afternoon and welcome everyone. This is Amy Schrader and Kim Swan from Mortgage Investors Group. And this is our first episode of the home buying process video that we're doing. And we're going to be here every Wednesday at noon breaking down the home buying process for you all. While we're waiting on everyone to click on and view with us, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Amy Schrader, obviously. And I'm a realtor with RE/MAX Real Estate 10. I have been selling real estate for about 7 years now. And prior to that, I worked for 10 years as a mortgage loan officer, and I worked 3 years at a title company. So I'm pretty well-rounded in the entire home buying process, from having done the mortgages to the title work and now working as a realtor. So Kim, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your history?
Sure. Of course, my name is Kim Swan. I've actually been in the business 22 years. Started with First Tennessee when they had their own mortgage division, and then I've been at SunTrust, a couple places there. But of course, I work for Mortgage Investors Group now. It's a great company to work for. We're the #1 lender in the state of Tennessee, and to knock off what Amy said there as well, you know, working with Amy as her being a realtor and myself as a lender, her background, her knowledge from the title company, as well as her knowledge from being a previous loan officer, she's great to work with, and she represents her borrowers really and buyers really well. So.
All right. For those of you that are joining in, if you'll just drop us a comment so that we know you're here. And as we go through the video, if y'all have any questions or topics that you want for us to cover, then please leave those in the comment. Obviously, when this video is over, it will be on our timeline. So if you're watching the replay later, if you have any questions or topics that you would like to see covered, then definitely leave us a comment and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Today, we're going to be talking about why it's so important for you to get pre-approved before you buy a home. And I know from an agent standpoint, Kim, there's 3 reasons that I want a buyer to get pre-qualified before we go look. Number 1, I don't want to waste time showing houses to somebody if they're not going to be able to purchase. And I don't mean for that to sound rude, but you know, it's wasting your time and my time and the seller's time if we're going out to look at houses and that person's not qualified to purchase a home. The second reason would be you need to know how much you can qualify for on the front end. If we go out looking at houses in the $175,000 to $200,000 price range, and then you get pre-qualified and find out that $160,000 is your max, you're not going to find a $160,000 house that you're happy with at that point because you've been looking in a higher price range. And then the third reason is we have a very tight inventory in the Morristown area right now. So once you do find a house that you want to put an offer in, you need to be ready to move at that point. You don't need to wait a couple of days so that you can get in, an appointment with your loan officer and get pre-qualified. You want to be ready to go when you find that house that you want. So Kim's going to talk to you a little bit about what getting pre-qualified means and what kind of information that you have to get pre-qualified.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Basically, one thing we want to talk about is being pre-qualified versus being pre-approved. You'll hear that terminology a lot. Basically, a pre-qualification is you providing your information, and we're going to talk about what all is required there. But the pre-approval is when you actually support that documentation with documentation. Like, for example, you provide your pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements. Again, like I said, that information that has to be verified as part of your loan approval process. Now, as far as getting pre-approved, basically we can do an application several ways. I have an online system. I have an app that you can download. The app is really good because if you're out on the weekends looking at homes and you want to plug in a purchase price to get what a payment would be or what a down payment would be, it can do all that for you. I do appointments, so I can do that in person. Also, we can even do an application over the phone. There is no charge to get pre-qualified or pre-approved. It's basically we just get all the information. Your credit will be pulled. So let's just kind of give you a breakdown of what that application consists of. The first thing with the application, of course, is you do not have to have a property picked out, as Amy was saying. It is best to go ahead and get that done. I've had people now that my borrowers have gotten the contract because they did have the pre-approval letter versus someone who was not already pre-approved, because like I said, they could accept that offer and that person may not be able to even qualify for that particular home. But as far as the application, of course, we start out with your name, of course, and we do need your legal name. We need your name as how it is on your Social Security card. So if you are a junior or senior, second or third, we do need that information up front. So when we pull that credit, we've got the right information. Obviously, we're going to get your Social Security number, we're going to get your date of birth. As far as then the next stop would be your residency, where you have lived for the past 2 years. That does need to be correct information, because actually now when we pull a credit report, if you have lived at other properties and you apply for credit, that will show on your credit report with the date. So for example, if you said, hey, you don't give me one of your addresses in the last 3 year history, and it does show up on your credit report, we've got to question you and see why that address was there as well. Along with that address, we also need to know, do you own that property? Do you rent that property? Do you live with family? Because sometimes that can affect what type of loan program you qualify for, because obviously the first time home buyer, if you currently own your home, you may not qualify for that particular program. Also finding out, one thing that helps us is if you pay rent, how much do you pay? That helps, believe it or not, with your approval process. When you go through the approval process, if it shows you've currently been paying $700 and you're looking to purchase a home at $800, then it's not a big payment shock because you've been used to paying that amount already. If you do come along and say, well, I pay your rent now, and then you're looking at $1,000 house payment, then it can affect when you go through the approval process. It's called what we call payment shock. Obviously, with the address information, we're also going to get your employment information. We do need to know where you have worked for the past 2 years, and we need to know the dates. So if there's been gaps in employment, so if you left a job and maybe there was 6 months that you did not work and you're back on your current job for a month, again, that could affect some of your approval processes. Different loan programs have different requirements when it comes to employment and gaps in employment and time on job. After, of course, we get your employment information, we're also going to get your income. We need to know what your income is. We do get to use before tax amount, so we use your gross income, and we need to know if it's hourly, salary, how you're paid, commission, mileage, truck driver and things like that. Now we'll take one session and go over income in more detail, explain to you, some of the differences in the income and how the income works and what's required for different types of income. After the income information, we want to know about your bank accounts. So that includes checking, savings accounts, 401ks. Now, some people, when we'll do an application, they'll be like, well, I have a 401k, but I don't want to use that. Well, we're not going to use that at all times, but it does help strengthen the loan. Because if you've got, several $1,000s in a 401k retirement account, then that can be what they call reserves. It just looks like shows your ability to save, as well as you have extra money in the event that you were to, need that extra money after you've purchased the home. After the asset information, normally with the debt section, normally what I do personally is I go ahead and get your credit report pulled. I don't require you to sit down and tell me, oh, I've got a credit card here and this is my payment and this is my balance. I've got a car loan. I just get the credit report pulled, and then we can go over that together. We can talk about what your payments are, what your monthly debts are. Sometimes we pull credit reports and things are not correct. You may have paid a debt off. You may have, it may be a previous someone else that you co-signed for and things like that. Now, another thing that we ask you about when we pull your credit is we ask about inquiries. So if you have pulled if someone else has pulled your credit, we want to know, hey, did you take on a new debt? Because it may not show up on your credit report if it was probably done maybe in the last 30 days or so.
Right.
Your credit report will also show and reflect bankruptcies if there's been a bankruptcy. It will also reflect collections. Collections are accounts maybe that you haven't paid, medical debts and things like that, and also show if there's any judgments against you. And again, we'll take a whole nother day and go into a lot of detail about the credit report, which is a very important part of the application process.
Right. So all right. So next week we are going to go more in depth about your credit report, what is considered credit, what will show on your credit report, and sometimes things that you think would show on your credit, but they're not showing. So stay tuned with us next Wednesday at noon for that. Now, one thing I do want to encourage you to do is if you want to visit my website at buyahomeinc2019.com, that's buyahomeinc2019.com, then you can request a copy of the Ultimate Home Buyer's Guide, and that's on my website. It's going to ask you for your name and your email address, and then I will get this sent over to you. So this is a great guide. It's an easy read that will guide you through the process as far as, you know, what you need to do to get started buying the house. So again, that's buyahomeinc2019.com. And if you have any questions or topics that you would like to see us cover in the future, then please let us know. Leave a comment on the video. And we appreciate everyone watching today, and stay tuned with us next Wednesday at noon.
Awesome. Have a great day. Thank you,
All right.
Amy.